concerns in North Shore communities about an EMS staffing shortage. Good evening and thank you for joining us. A new social media page has been launched by Unifor to shine a light on the dangers of a paramedic shortage in the eastern part of the Thunder Bay District. One post claims people along the North Shore can expect rotating ambulance-based closures this summer. TBT's Justin Hardy is following the story and he joins us in studio. Justin?
Thank you, Riley. The head of Superior North EMS says the union's suggestion about rotating closures in places like Scarborough and Nipigon is not accurate. But Shane Muir says the staffing issues are real and they're trying hard to fill those vacant positions. Ongoing staffing shortages being faced by Superior North EMS have become critical this year compared to the last few years, according to Carrie Jefford, president of Unifor Local 229. The union, which represents paramedics along the North Shore, recently launched a social media page to announce when staffing issues affect services in smaller towns in the district. Jefford says the page was meant as a way to raise awareness of the need for paramedics in the region.
We've been trying desperately over the last few years to increase staffing levels for paramedics in the District of Thunder Bay. We usually have about over 100 paramedics. Currently, right now, there's 24 job vacancies that are wide open and people just aren't applying.
One post on Unifor's Facebook page claims EMS base stations will be experiencing rotating closures this summer due to inadequate staffing levels. EMS Chief Shane Muir is taking issue with that claim.
No, so there is no planned downstaffing. There is no rotating closures. We endeavor to staff every shift in every station, and we do try and prioritize those high call volume stations.
But Muir concedes the district is a vast area with 13 stations, and it won't be easy keeping all of them staffed.
That's a lot of shifts to cover. So it's a bit of a challenge to make sure that they're all filled. We have a problem with staff leaving, with absenteeism. So it does compound some issues because we do have to provide that vacation time. Otherwise, our paramedics get burnt out. We run up into a very long-term dire situation.
Muir says that roughly 15 people could be hired for part-time positions. Jefford says that the real issue is the lack of proper incentives to want to work in the north.
We think some of the working conditions in the north and at the district stations is a bit of a challenge. Mostly, the wages and benefits packages need to reflect why people want to move up here into the district.
Staffing shortages are an ongoing issue across the province, which could potentially only get worse as Superior North EMS prepares for a possible gap year in graduates coming out of college in 2028. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
A devastating barn fire killed about 200 newborn chicks, rabbits, and other animals last night. It happened at a business on Maple Ward Road called Barnyard Friends. A total of 4 pumpers responded to the blaze, which fire officials believe started because of an electrical problem. Fortunately, most of their full-grown animals weren't in the barn at the time. The firefighters were able to save some animals that were inside, including a group of kittens and a pig. Barnyard Friends owner Ruth Wolferson is thanking the firefighters for their efforts and says the community is already coming out in support.
I wasn't looking for anything, but everybody's been very generous. I am really, really shocked. And just before you called, somebody donated $1,000 worth of food for the animals, which is like quite a shock, and it's a huge relief right now. It's going to keep running. The support that I've got from people that have called, I can't even believe how many people are helping. So yeah, we're gonna keep going somehow.
Wolsifer says Barnyard Friends will be at Chippewa Park on Sunday for Our Kids Count fundraiser. There's been another transport crash on Highway 102 just west of Thunder Bay. Fortunately, it appears no other vehicles were involved in the collision. It happened at about halfway between Town Line Road and Guswery Road. OPP weren't available today to provide details on exactly when the crash happened, whether there were any injuries, or if charges have been laid. The transport could be seen lying on its side in the ditch, and crews were on scene over the noon hour, preparing to remove it. There have been numerous crashes involving semis along that route over the past few years. OPP have charged 3 people with drug trafficking. They were arrested during a vehicle stop yesterday on Highway 527 while en route to Armstrong and White Sand First Nation. 2 of the accused, a 40-year-old man and a 37-year-old woman, are from White Sand, while the third is a 30-year-old man from La Salle, Quebec. Officers seized 47 grams of crack cocaine, a spring-loaded knife, and a cell phone. All three face cocaine trafficking charges, while the Quebec man is also charged with possessing a prohibited weapon. The three accused remain in custody. The Ford government's handling of Toronto Science Centre is being scrutinized once again. Many have questioned the necessity and cost of moving the centre to a redeveloped Ontario Place. But now we know exactly how much the government spent just to make the case for it. CTV's Siobhan Morris explains.
The government is adamant moving the Science Centre from Don Mills in Eglinton to a renewed Ontario Place will save hundreds of millions of dollars over decades and boost attendance. The move justified by a business case drafted by consultants. Through Freedom of Information, the Canadian press has learned how big the bill is.
It's outrageous that the government has spent, $1 million to concoct a business case for something that, frankly, they had already decided to do.
That report made clear putting the Science Centre at Ontario Place could counter perceptions the government's privatizing the waterfront.
The entire thing is a sham and a waste of, once again, waste of taxpayer dollars.
I see they're doing a lot of drilling.
The co-chair of Ontario Place for All says the government's throwing money after bad, promising the operator of a spa coming to the waterfront a $650 million parking garage.
Then to justify that parking lot, they announced the demolishing, the diminishing of the Science Centre here for another $400 million. And now we're throwing another $1 million in to justify that bad decision.
A spokesperson for the Minister of Infrastructure explains the business case was prepared by leading experts and needed to make an informed decision.
The big problem with that is they made the decision first to move the Science Centre here, and then they commissioned the report.
In December, the then acting Auditor General called the business case for the move incomplete, leaving out key costs and input from key players.
Without consultation, those that are making decisions are not having all the information necessary to make the correct decision.
He also flagged a lack of funding at the existing Science Centre, with repairs piling up.
Infrastructure Ontario is purposely letting the asset decline to create this crisis. It's almost like a demo-viction.
There could be more revelations in the months ahead. The Auditor General is in the middle of an audit of the redevelopment plans here at Ontario Place. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
With Father's Day coming up on Sunday, Ontario's Minister of Natural Resources is promoting the province's latest free fishing weekend.
It's Father's Day weekend, so let's have some fun. Let's get out, let's go fishing.
Minister Graydon Smith notes that the province has 3 weekends per year and 1 full week that Ontario residents can legally fish without buying a license. He adds recreational fishing is important to the province's economy and is a good way to get outside and enjoy the natural environment. Smith says he himself hasn't been fishing in the Northwest yet, but it's an invitation he's eager to accept.
Whether it's Lake of the Woods or, I'm invited to go up to Red Lake and experience fishing there too, and in other places as well. I've got to be able to take advantage of this at some point because the offer's way too good to pass up. So, but for everyone else that's listening, don't pass up the opportunity this weekend. Take that opportunity to get out and fish for free.
Smith reminds anglers that although the need for a license is waived for this weekend, all other fishing rules and regulations are still in place. June 15th is known around the world as Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Today at City Hall, the Age-Friendly Elder Abuse Prevention Committee held a flag raising to acknowledge the ever-growing issue. The theme for this year is Growing with Attitude, with the goal of encouraging seniors to speak up if they're being abused. The ceremony was attended by committee co-chairs Rebecca Johnson and OPP Staff Sergeant David Moskal. They say there are many factors contributing to the rise in elder abuse.
Adults are living longer. People are living longer. So we have a number of individuals and we don't have as many children to look after those adults. And then the other thing is some parents don't live here in Thunder Bay, or they live here in Thunder Bay, but their children live elsewhere. And so they just leave them and nobody looks after them.
Some of our elders got left behind. And they're still facing isolation, and they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable to scams. They're vulnerable to dishonest people taking advantage of them, and a lot of them, quite frankly, don't have really don't have the support systems in place to help them out.
Moskal adds that looking out for your neighbors can go a long way towards protecting our elder population. Officials with the Porphy Island lighthouse have invested in a new transportation method for visitors. The extra-long golf cart with 3 rows of seating is being introduced there this summer. Tourism numbers to the island on Lake Superior have grown over the past few years. Officials say the newest addition will be a great way to keep tourists together and engage with one another. The Easy Go cart is battery-powered with a carrying capacity of 8 people and a driver. The Lighthouse Group says this piece of equipment is crucial, as the walking distance from their dock to the lighthouse is about 1 kilometer hike, which can be quite difficult for older people or those with disabilities.
Because we've had an increase of 10 to 15% yearly, we've seen more and more visitors with mobility issues. And so when tourists come to enjoy, or local visitors come to enjoy, we'd like to provide them with a little bit of extra service. And also it's good getting the people mover, and 8 people on it. You can keep them connected and move them up to the lighthouse.
Anyone interested in visiting Porphy Island and the lighthouse can check the Canadian Lighthouses of Lake Superior website for more details. Well, that is for sure something I might take a look at this summer, Fiona. But turning to weather now, today saw a little bit kind of everything.
Yeah, we had a very sunny start to the day. Lots of sunshine actually until about mid-afternoon. Then the clouds started to roll in, and that's just because the systems that have been moving through, as you can see, not really a lot of activity, but little pockets just pushing through from the northwest. Didn't really bring any rain, but did bring the clouds and brief moments where it was suddenly a little bit cooler, a little bit breezier. Now, here in the city of Thunder Bay, we started out with a low of 7. We warmed up to 18, so a little below normal for this time of year. We should be hitting 21, 22 at this time of year. But the sunshine was enjoyable while it lasted. It started off with light winds from the east, about 7 kilometers per hour, picked up in the afternoon, started to rotate around, come in from the southeast at about 17 kilometers an hour. If we take a look at what's going on across the region, we had increasing clouds in Red Lake for most of the afternoon and a brief shower about half an hour ago, and it's already gone in Red Lake and into Pickle Lake. They're currently at their highs for the day. Beautiful in Kenora at 23. Fort Frances, partly cloudy, also at 23, so very seasonal to the west. It was further to the east where it was a little bit cooler. They started off with a fair amount of cloud throughout Armstrong, Greenstone, the northeastern shores of the lake, and in Sault Ste. Marie. But they've had diminishing cloud all afternoon, so they've enjoyed a nice warming trend, but still have a ways to go. Marathon and Wawa still quite cool because of that south flow off of the lake. Now, here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, there is a 30% chance of a pop-up shower, so don't allow that to panic you, because that's just this evening. After that, late in the evening, it'll start to clear, and we're looking at a low of 7 under winds about 10 to 15 kilometers per hour, so relatively light. As we head into our weekend, though, Saturday was originally looking to be kind of iffy at times, possible rain. Well, the outlook is actually improving for Saturday. That's probably looking to be your best day because unfortunately, we've got another round of showers pushing in that could arrive Saturday night and possibly into the beginning of Father's Day. And that threat of rain is going to continue into next week. So just when we thought we had escaped the rain, looks like we're getting a little bit more, but I just have to keep reminding people, considering how dry it was over the winter, every little bit is going to be of benefit to our region.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fiona. Well, when we come back, Pope Francis has made history as he was the first Pope to ever join a G7 Leaders Summit, and that's happening in Italy, and we'll have more on that when your Friday News Hour continues.
We would condemn humanity to a future without hope if we took away people's abilities to make decisions about themselves and their lives, he said.